Okay, in this segment I'm going to show how I go about starting from a mylar sheet into a fully wrapped drawer. First thing is switch the top view. I have my roll on an ABS pipe held by 2x4s. I've made a parallel line along the bottom. I have a cut line, end line, and this is my cut line. So I line it up in the corner, place the clip, pull out the X-Acto, that's 2 sheets. I say 2 sheets because this bag, this roll is one long bag. This is the same bags that you get from your suppliers. They have a weld down the sides. The supplier just puts a weld along the bottom, dumps his stuff in, welds along the top, or puts a ziplock or folds it over in tape, whatever. But this is the same thing. So then comes cutting this piece of lining into a meaningful shape that can help you do your wrapping. High Scotch tape. I center it, make sure I have about the same on both sides, line up the edges, and I put a piece of Scotch tape on top and bottom, stop it from jiggling around. You'll notice that the Mylar has a tendency to curl, so you gotta watch out for that. X-Acto, follow your template. Now you can accelerate things by taping multiple layers of ABS, of Mylar, so that your cuts go a lot faster. I've gone up to, I think it was 6 bags, and that was starting to get a sketch, like my little kids would say. It would, sometimes the blade would go through, sometimes it wasn't. Surprisingly, it does offer a lot of resistance, even with a new blade. So on average, I'll cut 4 layers, 4 bags Scotch tape. I lay one down, put one on top, Scotch tape it, and I keep Scotch taping them along the edge lengthwise like this, so that when I put the next layer on and I fold it over, the Scotch tape won't interfere with the cutting. I cut this, cut that tape, pull the little clips that hang on in the corners. That's garbage. Pull off the tape. Now Mylar bags have sides. The outside is for protection, and I believe the inside has more of an anti-static, an ESD protective layer to it. I'm not sure of all the details. I just saw it on Google. I don't ask questions. I religiously keep the inside towards the inside of my drawer, and I don't ask more questions than that. So then, take my drawer. I have a piece set up already. I've fabricated this tool, to call it the insertion tool. Wrap the end flaps, clip it, wrap the end flaps and clip it, and then this is sort of a hold it up to a light source so you can see the two notches, and you can line them up and down to get to make sure that your pad is centered on the tool. And at the same time, when you loosen the clamp, you can pull up a little bit to put a little bit of tension on this bottom side. Next thing is the double-sided tape, which you have to precisely cut. I go about a 1/4 inch from the end of both ends of the drawer, and I call it a day. Center that by eye. Comes to about this. No big deal. And you just smush it down. Pick one corner, and there's a little trick that I've picked up is you scrape down like twice, and it's as if it releases the double-sided from the backing, and then you just pull on the clip, and usually, ta-da, when you're not sure, look under, and there's going to be, see, there's a reflective surface. That's the sided tape. That's what you want. If you don't see that, push it back down, fiddle with it. At worst, you can use an X-Acto blade and pick away at it, but I found this too slow, and it works just as good with the fingernail that you kind of scrub it down 2-3 times and then poke at it and it lifts. Sometimes it does it like right on the first shot. See what I did here? I'm going to pull this back up. Come on, baby, please untie. Yes. See, it's a little bit forgiving, the double-sided tape, when you make a mistake. So I fold it over, and then I hold it tight across the back. My thumbs are pinching it. I fold the two ends, put it in halfway. Not completely, just about halfway. That'll do the job to hold it while you do the same thing at the other end. You fold it halfway, push it in, and then you push it down even. Pull the clips, release those end flaps, push down, and then I put Scotch tape all around. I've taken a habit of putting 3 pieces, one in the center, one at each side, because the sides will have a little wave to it. So what I do is when I put the Scotch tape down, I follow with my thumb along the Mylar sheet, so any looseness gets wrapped up and the Mylar gets pushed behind that end flap. Doesn't always work neatly, but it works like 99% of the time. See, fold along the bottom, push, hold the corner in, repeat on the other side. Whoops, that one is going to be I've cut my sides. My template is just a little bit too wide, so my sides come up a little bit high. On this side it's not bad, it has a bit of bite on the tape, but on this side it comes practically right up to the side. I should trim my mold down a little bit, but I'm not, because I'm already on my 4th cabinet and it's working. So if it's working, don't break it. It's not broken, don't break it. And in the end, you have these end flaps with the side flaps bent in behind them. You don't worry about the back flap, the side flaps. You just Scotch tape the end one and start from the middle, and you push out into the corners. When you push out into the corners, that'll pull out any extras that you have on those side flaps. After you do a couple, you'll get the hang of what I'm talking about here. That, see, this one has a little bit of extra. I just push into it, bring down the tape. Same thing with this one, it has some extra. And that's pretty much it. The thing is complete. The back flap, let's see this there. The back flap is what's on the inside. Those side flaps, let's get the reflection just right. The side flaps are outside the drawer. They don't become an issue, and your corners are filled up. So how long will this Scotch tape hold? I don't know. The last set did something like 10 years, but this double-sided tape that I'm using by ATAC. Do I have a full roll here? No, of course I don't. Thought I did. This thing is awesome. It's on Amazon, and it works real wonders. And even if this tape breaks, the MYLAR is attached to the bottom, so at worst the sides will flop around and I'll be able to put on new Scotch tape. So that's wrapped, that's prepared. I take my piece, which is a MOSFET that I've just jabbed into a piece of foam that's just about the right width. I put it in, and if we go to side view, and that's it. It is ready. I just slide it in. It has a little lock. Click. Same thing with this one. This was another FET. I just stand it up. If I'd have a bunch, I just throw them in loose. I might put 3mm foam at the bottom just to stop them from sloshing around and damaging themselves. This foam, the 3mm, is super soft. It's not good for pins. It's only good as a anti-slopping around base, if you want to call it. The ones I use for ICs are 5mm. These guys are rigid and they work great for ICs, and you cut them up as you want. I've also got 10mm. Where are my 10mm? I have 10mm. Yeah, that's the ones I use for that. 10mm that I can use. But again, these guys have no structural strength. I mean, that's only holding on because it's such a tiny component that it just stands there without causing any problem. This tool is just a piece of wood with the bottom rounded and the end rounded out. This could have been 3D printed, would have done the same thing. These clips come from staple for badge holders. You just tear off the plastic attachment, and if you grab a solid pair of pliers like these suckers, they gotta be nice, square and flat. You grab the rivet on the bottom and you just pry away and play with it, and after, I don't know, a couple of minutes, eventually the rivet pulls out the inside, and then you can put your M2 screws through. Mine, I had 20 millimeter long. They weren't long enough, so I had to make a taper with a 1/4 inch drill bit to permit the head to go in deep enough to grab. I have double-sided tape that goes all around it with the foam, that soft, gooey 3 millimeter foam. I added a small pad of 3 millimeter foam at each end so that it fits just right when I put it in. It doesn't fall out, but it takes nothing to pull it out. That way you know that the Mylar has room to fold, and especially those side tabs, those side flaps, you have to have room for them to work properly. You don't want it mega too tight. This mold, I had originally started with a wooden one, a square wooden one. It worked, but the corners, the Mylar would come up each side properly. That was nice, but the corners, the round part, you could see your finger through it, so there was no protection here, and it became grabby. And whenever I find one of those old drawers, I tear them apart because I just don't like them. I probably have one in here somewhere. Oh look, here's one. I can empty this out, take out the separator, and you can see this was version 1. It doesn't even have an end flap. It's only lining the bottom and the two sides. But the next, let's say version 2, would have an end flap, but you could still see here. So these guys, as I encountered them, I just tear them apart, rip all that out. That's no good. And when I'll get to this particular drawer, I'll just line it again with the new technique, which is bigger, better, stronger. Put the doohickeys back in there. And put that back. So this one I'll realign it. Right now, I'm transferring, I'm filling up what I call my new cabinets, the C series. I take all my stuff from my A series, that's A1 and that's A6 on the back. I transfer stuff in. I've sorted stuff out in an Excel spreadsheet, and I've put everything in order: the IC sockets, the FETs, transistors, You know, the first one was just pick microcontrollers. I'll have another one that'll be resistors, another one that'll be capacitors, and when I get back, these guys, most of them will be empty. So these guys, I'll be using them for mechanical things, doohickeys, stuff that you don't get a lot of, because these guys, some have one separator. These guys have no separators, so I try to put longer stuff in here. Some of these have, sure, you won't give me one now, right? Now that I'm looking for one. I've seen one that had dual separators. So I've got 2 generations of, let's call them old ones. This generation, I even got 3. This generation has 3 separators. Now these are great when you got a lot of tiny doohickeys, but I don't. I just use a center separator and I call it a day. I'll put the liner in first, and then I'll squeeze this in over the liner, and depending on what's going to go in, I'll either put 2 individual pieces of foam, or I've got shorter windows. I made these separators because they never give you enough, and I've got a shorter set that when you put a 5mm foam at the bottom, these can go on and not interfere with those tabs in the cabinet, because you want to be able to put it in without making a mess. Now, these are 2 doors. Yeah, those are 3. Sure. But I've seen one yesterday. It had two notches on it. So this one was back in there, and I had tried MYLAR tape to close up my boxes, thinking, hey, MYLAR, it's going to look nice on MYLAR paper, except it's too thick. So when you fold it over the top of the siding, okay, it's holding now, but on plastic, eventually it starts to bubble and starts to open up. It's not good for that. It's not made for that. It's made to use as ordinary tape, but not wraparound tape. I use it to hold down my my roll of MYLAR. I just take out a section, and what's nice is it can be unrolled, roll back down, unrolled, so it's reusable to a degree. I mean, I've still got all of this left to keep replacing pieces. Whenever I get these demo boxes from the suppliers, I kept them mainly because they were all SMD, tiny, super mega small parts, but I got to keep all this foam ESD, so sometimes you'll need a custom fit. Excuse me, the wife is calling. Alright, panic is over. So I made these separators out of these 1mm MYLAR sheets. I got them in a box. They arrive like this. Super nice, super well packed. They got a protective siding on both sides. They're great. The menus was for those separators. It's only after that I realized that, hey, they would also serve nicely as my mold, my template, because you can see through the MYLAR. It helps a lot, whereas when you're using wood, you don't know what's going on under there, if it's crumpling up or whatever. So this was a great tool for that. I'd recommend 2mm or 3mm if you got some. It'll be harder to cut, but you'll get something that's much more solid. I've encroached on it with the razor blade a couple of times, and I'm halfway through. I have seven cabinets, and I'm at 3.5 done. So I'm hoping it lives till the end, because I don't want to do that again. Now, how solid is that 1mm sheeting? This sheet, I'm going to switch to the top view. Maybe it'll be better. This is a brand new sheet. Okay, you can see that it's relatively clean, relatively solid. I mean, I'm gonna stress test it as far as it goes. You see, I can go that far. It still hasn't bent yet, and it returns more or less to its shape. So it's very good. This one fell on the ground under my desk. I've got at least 3 tracks of wheels from my chair on it, and I weigh 300 pounds. So that gives you an idea also. I'm on concrete, flat concrete with my office chairs. So that gives you an idea that they're reasonably good. I mean, if I would be down to my last one, I would still use this guy. Let's see if it breaks. I think it'll probably break. Okay, it survived. And there it went. So see, there's only so much abuse these guys could take. There's probably micro fractures in there, and I popped it open. But that shows you they are damn good. Okay, a few words of caution. I'm working on silicone mats. I don't have the $300, $400, $500 ESD mats. I've got ordinary silicone, but I've got the ground clip that goes to the wall outlet, and I've just received the plate that goes under your desk. That you can attach anti-static wristbands. So that's going in soon. But speaking about anti-static in ESD, I do a lot of my cutting on, this is birch plywood. I've been using this mostly for all my cutting, drawing my templates on there, my measurements. But for some reason, this creates static when you're passing the X-Acto. I don't, with the silicone and with this and with the plexiglass on top, I don't know the science, but it creates static, a reasonable amount. So, and debris come from all the cutting. I mean, you can see that the board, it's all chewed up. Well, those chew ups, they end up. So I got the wife's what you call it, lint remover roller thingy. It works great, but see, it wants to. This thing builds static like there's no tomorrow. I did not expect that. I know that now. So use these with a lot of caution. Where's my seam? There's my seam. Use these with a lot of caution around ESD parts. So that's why I pull out backup plan those bounce clothes dryer sheets. Wipe down the surface, whatever it is you touched, wipe it down, and it removes 99.9% of the static is gone. Let's see, I'll pull this over the Mylar. Is the Mylar got attracted to me? See, not even in the slightest. So, especially when you cut foam, especially the cheapo, softo ones, they create a lot of static. So, I sandwich it. I'm going to switch to the other view. I sandwich it in a sheet of bounce, and then I just slide it, I hold it, and I slide it through. And then when it comes out, it has no bounce. Practically none. It's like 99% proof. Say, here's a pile I did yesterday. You can see that they are loose. They are not wanting to clink, which is way different than when I was cutting it. Because when I was cutting it, these guys, I would put one on top, and it would bounce away like 6 inches, or it would turn 90 degrees like a magnetic compass. They were so full of static. Now they're just falling plop, 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 one after another, and they're staying mainly aligned. And especially when you do this, you see that there's they're free. They're not sticking. They're not sticking to each other. So these things, they're worth it. I wipe down my drawers. I wipe down anything that as soon as I see a little bit of static, you'll feel it. Men are lucky with the hairs. You'll feel it on your forearm when you pass along static, and you go, whoop, wipe this down, and it's done. So that's pretty much it. I think I've covered everything. The last thing, maybe I don't remember if I covered it, is my cutting board. I added it backwards. I added a little feature. I call them my little stoppers. When I put the ruler upstream for a reason. It hits these stoppers. So when I line up and clip, I don't have to play with the ruler. I only have to hold it down. I put it upstream, unclip, that's done. Pull it back down, line up the corner. Having these blockers, they could be a piece of wood, they could be anything. These was from a project on a mini CNC machine. I ended up not using them, and I put double-sided tape under them, put them down, put the screws in, and they are awesome. They save me a lot of time, effort, energy. This roll, this Mylar roll, bought it from AliExpress. It costs about, I think it was 138. Okay, now this guy's super tight. Yeah, this end is super tight. He won't slide out, and I'm not going to force it. I don't want to make a mess of things right now on video. But this is ABS piping, the same stuff you get under your sink in the kitchen. 2x4s, sheet of wood, couple of screws in the back, and away you go. I had to use a table because my my drill. I forget the name of the plug drill, whatever you call them, that take away the pieces as you cut them. It was too short. I had 2¼ or 3 inches or something, so it was too extreme. So I had to pass this on. It's an orbital table sanding drum or something like that. It's basically a drum with sandpaper that goes up and down, and it rotates at the same time. So you slowly take your piece and you carry it around until you get, see, this fit here is loose. It's just right. I can pull it through a little bit. This side, I left it mega tight. So this one acts as there. You see it's coming out slowly at the other end. This side acts as my lock. And this is, there you go. Just hold up the roll, and that's it. You can cut other stuff. You can make your table wider, whatever you want. But see, this side, I made it really loose, so it's easy to reinstall. If I would have been really smart, I would have put a miter here, but it's -20 when I was doing this, and I was fed up. It was cold. I didn't want to mess around, so in through the easy part, and you look at the other side, and you just jiggle it, the roll, until it lines up. And once it's lined up, that's it. It's in. It's a snug fit. I don't have to worry about any fasteners or anything to keep it in place, because, I mean, it's not falling out. It's not going anywhere. I use 5/8 plywood, so it wouldn't warp and take on funny shapes. This, if you're going to cut a lot of these, I have 7 cabinets of the new type, but let's switch there. Yeah, I have 7 of these new ones that I'm lining, but I'm also relining all my old ones, and I've got 6 of those. So 6 times 60, do the math, and these are 8x8, so that's 64 times 7, do the math. That's a lot of cutting. It's a lot of mold, what do you call it, template cutting and inserting. That's why I made these little tools to help me along, because, or else it just takes forever. I made a mistake when I ordered my 3mm foam. This is the rigid one, and where's the soft one? Where's the soft one? And this is the 3mm soft foam. You can see the difference. Like, this thing has this thing is off, more firm. This is the same type that you would use for ICs, but 3mm is too thin. This is just if I would have something heavy in the drawer and I would want it to stay in the same place, I would use this type just to have a solid base. These are just to stop loose stuff from moving around. Like when you got a gazillion transistors, you just put it on top of that and it'll just slow them down from going clink, 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 clink all the time. But these guys, compared to, this is the 5mm variety. I didn't notice. These were 20x20. These are 15x20 centimeters. And I didn't pay enough attention to that. You don't get a lot out of this. You only get 3 segments out of this one. Out of this one, I was able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, and I get 4 halves. So with those 4 halves, I can make 2 more. So I get 6 supports, whatever you want to call them, to pin my ICs in. 5mm, this is just plenty. So that's about it. If you think of anything, put it in the comments, and have a good one.